Hey everybody, Metal Shop Steve, album review time. This is one of kind of two albums that have come across my path recently from the artists themselves asking if I would take a listen, and happy I did. Today we're talking about They Might Be Zombies. They are a Miami, Florida band formed maybe about 10 years ago, and they're putting out some really hard-hitting rock. The album, which is due out a little bit later this month here, depending on when you see this video, April 24th is the scheduled date. Reanimate is the name of the album. So let's go ahead and talk about it. I'll give you a quick rundown of the songs. I'll let you know which ones are my favorites and why. Reverse Survival starts out the album. It's aggressive, it's pounding, it's fast. And kind of one thing you'll notice characteristically of this band, just in their sound, is very aggressive. I guess I'll talk about that first. Jumped into the first song there without talking too much, but you've got really great pounding drums in this album. Jose Lega is the drummer here. Lyrically, very dark, very aggressive kind of themes, and vocals, Ewar Acosta, and he does this, overall, the album is kind of a mix of that aggressive, yelling kind of vocal mixed in with some just really solid kind of nu metal, power metal singing. So there's that mix throughout the album as well. And then in terms of the guitar work, Smiley Dead J guitar, it's biting, it's riffy. The guitars are really a nice complement to kind of a down-tuned, almost lower register kind of sound throughout a lot of the album. So there you go. That's the band. Back into the music here. Second song, title track, Reanimate. This is a very drum-driven song. And there's a little bit more singing here. Some songs tend toward the singing. Some songs tend toward the yelling or growling. This one tends more toward the singing. After that, actually, my favorite songs on this album kind of came in pairs. So I have two sets of favorite songs here. My next two songs are back-to-back, two of my favorites. Motives is one of them. That's the third song on the album. It's really got this nice growly, gritty, angry kind of vocal. Kind of this, best way to describe it for me is like machine gun burst of drumming. Not necessarily that blast beat. I'm not a fan of that. Don't like it. But just really well done, kind of fast, rapid fire, but interesting drumming to lead that song. Next up, there actually is a song on here named after the band, They Might Be Zombies. That's also one of my favorites. It's fast. It is a fast, hardcore song. It takes me back to some of my younger days when I listened to a lot of stuff that sounded like this. Really great song. That's my second pick for my favorite songs on the album. After that, we have Already Dead, and it has kind of a little bit of a gothic atmosphere in the background of this song, but that's not really the kind of the focus of the song. That's in the background. You can hear it, but certainly the guitars and the rest of the metal are certainly up front on this song. It's slower, it's churning, it's kind of grinding it out. Slower tempo song for this album, really. A State of Decay up next, and this has kind of out of nowhere, almost a progressive sounding keyboard bit. Very, very fast work. Kind of in the way that Dream Theater does sometimes, where they have that, a really aggressive guitar-driven song, but the keyboards are kind of laying in the background. You've got that, but then there's really this aggressive driving guitar riff that keeps the whole song going the whole way through. And again, vocally, it's just absolutely brutal vocals in some parts, mixed with, really nice, clean singing. Sometimes on the chorus, more often than not, you're going to get that clean singing. Vanishing Lights after that, really great riff. One of my favorite riffs, if not my favorite riff on the whole album. I'm a riff guy. I've carried that with me through my whole life. Love a good guitar riff. And so there you go in this song. A Dying Voice after that kind of has a Disturbed flavor to it. If you're a fan of Disturbed, or if you certainly know what they sound like. That's what it reminded me of. It's like super chunky guitar work. Everything is, kind of low and dark and chunky in that, and I really like it. That's a great song. Really guttural vocals in this one too. So that's kind of the Disturbed thing, the guitars and the vocals mixed. There's also a really unique bit of vocal involved in this one too. So not going to try to describe it, but I'm going to let you hear it for yourself and just get it. Fragments. This one, to me, has the most single or video-driven kind of sound. I'm not sure if it was planned to be that way or if it's just the way the song came out, but it seems like it's a nice, even mix all the way around, a little taste of everything that they do well, all kind of put into one song. Nice, solid song. I could totally see that being kind of a popular, often played, often viewed type of song. Headshot after that. This one is another riff-driven rocker. Best way to describe it. Really consistent sound on this album. I'll give them that. You're not getting any big departures one way or another off to the side. It kind of reminds me of the way the album, I just recently reviewed the new Five Finger Death Punch album. And this kind of reminds me in terms of how consistent it is the whole way through of that one. So next up, we have my second pairing of favorite songs on the album, back to back. Initial State of Death. That's my first one here at the bottom of the album. This one is probably the one, actually these next two, give me that death metal vibe a little bit. Maybe more of the hardcore thrashiness, but certainly leaning to death metal vibe the most of anything on this album. There are a lot of nice, in the drum work, there's really kind of some upfront cymbal clang that I like a lot. That's really, kind of good drumming to me. I like a mix of that in there too. A lot of screams. It's fast. It's aggressive. Just a really, really great song. That's why I picked it as one of my favorites. Followed by my last favorite on the album, Roadkill. And this one is all about speed and aggression. The instruments, the vocals, everything just kind of ramps this up and runs together. It kind of almost is a really nice pairing with the track above it that I just mentioned, The Initial State of Death, which I think is why I like these two songs so much, is because they have a similar vibe to me, and back to back they played really well next to each other. So I like that. The album finishes up with Ant Collector, and this one is a little bit slower. It's chugging. It's got kind of a churning sound, but there's a clean chorus to this song as well. Overall, this album had a lot of flavor. I already mentioned some of the things that I can hear that reminded me of. Some of the other things that kind of are in there for me that give me a little bit of throwback is maybe Mudvayne. If you ever listen to Mudvayne, there's a little bit of that sound in here, I think, as well. It's kind of a mix of, death metal mixed with a kind of a nu metal vibe to it. It's familiar yet different. Pretty unique album here. So again, it's called Reanimate by They Might Be Zombies, and that is scheduled for release April 24th. So depending on when you're watching this video, it may already be out, or it might not. Either way, give it a listen. I'm going to give you some links below, and I'll see you next time.